Our Patreon pick this week, as requested by Lucas Sadek. Fuck You is the Zombeavers film from 2014. Actually, not Fuck You, Lucas Sadek. This movie was kind of funny. I'm going to be honest, it's a little guilty pleasure. This one actually was kind of funny.
Okay.
I guess I'll give the rundown of it. So basically, some fucking truckers dropped a thing of nuclear waste in a pond, and that made the beavers turn into zombies, and now the beavers also turn other things into zombies if they bite them, and there's some, like, people having a little girls' trip, and then their boyfriends come and hang out and interrupt it, and it's just some stupid, dopey comedy horror film, quote-unquote horror film. Not a ton of substance with this one, unlike Tanner's Haiku, which has much amounts of substance.
That's right, my haiku as inspired by Zombeavers. Girls' night in the woods. Boys, beavers, and bears, oh my. Please shave your beaver.
Do you prefer shaved beavers, Tanner?
I do prefer shaved beavers, actually.
Dude, as long as, like, you know, it ain't around the, the beaver lips area, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
That's when it starts getting gross to me.
True.
Like the little heart shape above it.
Yeah, now that's just adorable, Jackson. As for these beavers, though, guys...
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think that in Tanner's words, in the immortal words of Tanner, this might just be the perfect film.
Yeah, I disagree.
What, were there, like, any actual issues with it?
I think it's a bit too long, it's a bit too slow in areas.
This movie's crazy short, though.
True, which is...
This shit's, like, barely over an hour.
Nico, you're really making the fucking cogs in Tanner's head turn right now.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It can be short and still fucking drag.
That's not what I'm talking about at all.
Okay.
Now, look, Tanner, while it may not be your cup of tea, it does offer a tongue-in-cheek homage to those classic, you know, more like creature horror films of the day, you know? Some of that classic schlock cinema, as it were. You're a big fan of schlock cinema, are you not?
I do like schlock. I would not say this is schlock.
I thought you were going to say you would not say this is cinema.
I also wouldn't call this schlock. I think this movie's peak. I think it's funny as fuck that they didn't use CG for most of the beavers.
Yeah.
There definitely was plenty of CG in this film, but they were surprisingly restrained with it, and most of it was practical effects, which I can appreciate. That was pretty funny.
Even when there is, like, the occasional CG, it's like, it feels much more intentionally cheesy, if anything.
I still think my favorite parts of the movie were just when the fucking beavers were like poking out the holes and shit. They're just fucking like really like putting no effort into it, but just like stabbing them.
Yeah.
So fucking stupid. Yeah, there's not a whole ton to talk about with this film. It is just a fucking comedy at the end of the day. So as we say with most of the comedy films we watch, it kind of just boils down to talking about the funny parts of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say.
Yeah.
I am glad that they added in, you know, the later wrinkle that the people turn into werebeaver.
Yeah, that was
funny.
That was a fun little subversion there. Like, you know, you think you're gonna get a hot and steamy lesbian scene where you're gonna see some beavers going at it, but instead the woman fucking just turns into a big old zombie beaver and tries to destroy her.
Yeah, I think the movie would have been much more boring if it was just the zombie beavers the whole time.
Yeah. This is also, of course, a comedy horror film. I definitely think they should have leaned a bit more into the absurdity of it. Yeah. Like, obviously, they did a good amount of leaning into the absurdity of it. But it would have been a much better film if they just, like, made it, like, purely a comedy with horror elements rather than trying to still make, like, a generic horror film work with comedy.
Yeah.
That's just me, though. I think you should put all your eggs in one basket with this kind of thing.
Yeah, doing the half and half, you know, it doesn't please anyone at the end of the day, you know? You just end up kind of disappointing both sides here.
Yeah, so are you gonna, especially like a low-budget film like this, like, I think you should really just prioritize, am I gonna make, like, a good absurd comedy, or am I gonna make, like, a good horror film? No, they chose to make a fucking kind of generic horror film with some funny moments in it.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, you know, I'm not the director, I can't make them do whatever they want, but I would have made it much more absurd, because it had a lot of absurdity, and it could have been a much better film if they really just leaned into it just being some ridiculous fucking stupidity.
Yeah, dude, like the fucking beavers, like, just knocking down trees to kill people, that was sweet, I loved that.
Yeah, no, big fan of that. Just, like, random goofy shit like that, I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Like, maybe that fucking one chick who turned into a zombie beaver, maybe she should have just, like, used her tail to just, like, smash one of the people's heads, you know, just completely atomize it. That would have been sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, at the end of the day, at least they had a nice pair of tits in the film, so can't be too angry at it.
True. It is pretty funny how obvious it is which of the female cast members were, like, really, you know, okay with having their tits being in the movie as part of their contract, and the ones that weren't.
Yeah, I mean, like, even from, like, the get-go, the fucking, like, shirt she was wearing before she even, like, completely stripped down, it was, like, just, like, completely sheer, and you could very obviously see her tits.
Right.
Yeah, they cast her for a reason in this film.
I did enjoy the little subversion at the ending, though, with Bill Burr just, like, fucking blasting her.
Mm-hmm.
Just mowing that bitch down in the truck.
Fucking eviscerated her.
Yeah.
It was a callback to easier times.
Yeah.
Back before there were Zombeavers.
Alright, so I'm going to try to make this quick. So this is my review of Zombeavers. I guess my quickest way to sum up this movie was, it was a bad movie that wasn't made terribly. That might be a wild statement to make, but I think for the most part it accomplished what it was trying to do. I think it was a sufficiently horror-ish movie. I don't know if it was scary per se. I liked the concept they were going with. There were a couple concepts in there that almost made no sense. They weren't linear. Ergo, like the infection of the zombie beaver virus or whatever you want to call it. But at least they kept it all consistent when people turned. I don't know if that's a valid reason. Didn't think the acting was terrible. I thought the plot was, you know, fine enough. I like how they tried to split the difference between being funny and, like, horror at the same time, which, like I've said in the past, isn't an easy thing to pull off. But, yeah, I think the environment was sufficient for the movie. You know, the idea, I remember saying at the end of the movie, that girl who was trying to wave down the truck, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it's those guys from the beginning of the movie and it ends up killing her, and so there's no survivors, because, you know, in these kinds of movies, it's either one survivor or no survivors. So I'm kind of glad, and I think it's kind of funny that they decided to kill off all the survivors. But, yeah, didn't think it was a horrible movie, but it was, like I said, it was a bad movie that wasn't necessarily made poorly. So for that reason, I'm giving Zombeavers a C+.
Anyways, as far as the rankings go here, Tanner, what are you giving this one here?
I'm giving Zombeavers a B-.
Whoa. Dylan, who's not here today, unfortunately he's been enslaved, which, you know, we're going to try and get him back. Please subscribe to the Patreon if you want to see him again.
Yeah, so
he gave this film a C+.
How about you, Nico?
Me, yeah, Zombeavers is neat, I guess. Y'all also give it a C+.
Yeah, I'm definitely the lowest on the film. I gave it a C-.
Okay.
This is a pretty poorly produced film. I think me talking about the absurdity thing definitely drags it down a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it really, this movie would have been much more passable if it was just like a pure comedy. But a lot of this movie is just straight up boring, generic ass horror schlock. And I couldn't fucking care less about any of it. There's only like half of the film actually had like entertaining stuff going on for me, which drags it down a lot. But I do agree, there is a lot of like fun, absurdity stuff that they do with it. So I think as a comedy, it's like a fun watch, but it's still a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that ranking's
which shouldn't be a shock to anybody.
I think it is a little bit of a shock, you know? You were talking up the movie quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I was playing into the bit because it sounded like you were trying to do the fucking gaslighting bullshit we did to Dylan on Zoom to Tanner.
No, unfortunately not. I did think that there were some, like, there were some highlights for this film. It's not like, you know, it's not an amazing film by any standards, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, you were trying to gaslight him by saying, I don't think there's anything wrong with this film. This is a perfect film, yeah.
Oh, no, it absolutely has its fair share of issues.
Yeah, that's why I assumed you were trying to gaslight him with you saying that.
No.
Like, immediately not even, like, calling it out. Anyways, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. I will say, one thing I did really appreciate about this movie is that the ex-boyfriend, you know, the cheater, he did a really smart thing in this movie, which was he used the dog as bait for the beavers. And I'm sure, you know, I'm positive that a lot of people are going to take issue with that and be like, oh my god, that's horrible. He killed a dog. But yeah, survival of the fittest, bro. Them people got to make it out of here somehow, okay?
Do you think Dylan would have liked the movie better if the dog didn't die?
You know, I was fucking shocked that he did not mention that at all in his review. Which, oh, by the way, I probably should have given a clean place to enter Dylan's review. Oops, oh well. But yeah, I'm shocked that he didn't mention that whatsoever.
what are you gonna do with this review now? It's like put in the middle of it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You'll figure it out with editing magic. This movie landed at a C+, which is higher than I expected it to be completely honest.
Fair.